This week's test drive drew a little bit on the past, most specifically just a couple weeks ago because, well, we tested a similar model. Specifically, that was the inline edition of what lies behind me. So this week, I'm going to spend a little bit more time at kind of the finer details since we kind of did a full picture just recently. Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now behind me is the 2021 Hyundai Sonata, this one being the Limited. And what I wanted to do is kind of look at some of those things I don't spend a lot of time on and just kind of get into the weeds. Now, before I get into some of the finer details of the Sonata, let's talk about the contrast from just a couple shows back, that being the inline edition, this being the Limited model. The big standout difference really being the chrome accents you see here versus the inline having a more sporty, darkened facade. Here on the Limited, obviously the chrome surround on the door handles and at the four corners. Now, what I like on this particular model is the exterior color. It really defines the lines quite notably, obviously right through here and this lower portion right there. Really gives kind of a shadowy effect around this vehicle. Down to the bottom, that lower flare out, adorned in a darker accent, still gives a little bit of sporty facade. Now, the Limited is not all just about the chrome. It does have a little bit of sportiness built in, really with the darkened look through the middle, coupled nicely with that grille warfare, all adorned in that glossy black, also a little bit of accent there at the back end, but pretty much the chrome is setting off kind of that classic look that we expect on a Limited model. Now, getting into some of the finer details, you could say it's all about the headlight assembly, specifically starting with this accent right through here. What you'll see is this chrome really dives down and then transforms over into LED. This is your daytime running light. And what you'll notice is it's quite bright during the day. As it transforms into night and the headlight assembly takes over, this will actually dim. Now, there's some other components that go with this. One thing I've always complained about is how this accent will go away when you turn the turn signal on. And the Sonata does a nice balancing act of the two. I call it the proverbial squinting of the front end. When the turn signal goes on, oftentimes this totally disappears. So on one side, daytime running light, the other, just a turn signal. But what I like here on the Sonata is it kind of does a little bit of balancing act. Basically, when the turn signal turns on, this lower portion turns in the turn signal. This actually will go away during the day. At night, however, this accent again is dimmed. When the turn signal turns on, this is still here. So it gives a nice overall visual and balance. So maybe just a little bit of imbalance during the day, but at night, at least it makes for a nice uniform look. Now, it used to be just grille warfare, back-end design, pretty much an afterthought, but well, it all has to balance now. No plain Janes here at the back, and you'll see it here on the Sonata Limited. First off, chrome really setting the tone up front. Here in the back, really more darkened look to the overall approach. Now, during the day, no accent lighting to speak of, but at night, what you're seeing is this really wrap around all the way across. Of course, when you brake, that is on the outer portion. Turn signal as well, built in through here. One of the largest features on the inside of the Sonata that maybe goes without recognition is the infotainment system. Not with its generic operation, but also what goes on behind the scenes. Obviously, we understand the navigation, entertainment, even up-to-date weather. We get all that. But there's lots of other features that we can utilize. All you do is just simply swipe left and you have this kind of nice shortcuts. One interesting one I found is the voice memo. Say you're on the way to work and you need to pick up bread on the way home. Just simply press that right there. Brings up this simple function. Hit record it, and then naturally you're just going to listen to those maybe daily on the way home. Reminds you of things you need to do. Another nice feature is the ability to change the home screen. Just simply hit the menu button, then hit the edit home widgets. Then what you're going to have is your standard three that you saw, but you can either reorganize them or replace them with some various information. One specific one I like is the driving info. Just simply move it over. Often do I use the map? Not really. One thing I don't use a lot maybe is the weather. So then I can take this down here, just simply grab that and move it over. That way when you hit the home screen, now you have exactly what you're looking for, and you can even rearrange them in the order you see here. One other interesting feature I saw in here was when you dive in a little bit deeper, one thing you'll see is this sounds of nature down below. And when you click that, it's kind of like meditation here inside this vehicle. Gives you some options. And instead of maybe listening to the regular radio and all the noise going on in the world, just simply pick one of these as you're going down the road. Maybe a rainy day on a sunny day, maybe brightens your mood. Maybe the open air cafe, since you couldn't get your coffee because it was too busy. Well, just simply give you the sound of what it could have been like should you got a refill. Lastly, maybe the snowy village. Again, we all just kind of like those sounds of nature versus all the clutter we hear on the radio. Now, if you're like me and you hate when you have to share your vehicle with someone else, especially when they change all the various settings, well, one thing you can do is kind of go in and set up the different profiles. And where you do that is go right over here to user profile, select there. Then all you got to do is just kind of change the user. If you go here, what you'll notice is you have driver 1, driver 2. Now, I'm in guest mode right now, but let's say you want to switch over to driver 1. Now, once you switch over to that different profile, what you'll also find is the mirrors change, all the various other settings that went along with the profile. That makes life so much simpler than moving the chair every time, and kind of supersedes even just those typical seat settings that you have over on the door. This changes all the components all the way down to the infotainment system. The other big feature that goes along with a screen this big really is the navigation, not in the mapping sense, but the visual when it comes to cameras on this vehicle, allowing you to really get out of tight spots. Now, oftentimes I have to move vehicles around in the driveway, doing about a 14-point turn, and without cameras, well, it'll be made a lot harder. Now, what you'll see is just simply put it in drive. This vehicle has pretty much that 360 view, as well as those parking sensors, which you hear. Naturally, that bush up ahead looks like it's miles away on the camera, but up front, it looks like it's almost there. But that allows me really to kind of dive in tight, and let me just kind of show you how easy it is to do, again, a 360 in this vehicle in my driveway. Now, these cameras really make short work of getting this vehicle turned around in any tight spot. Allows you to kind of minimizes or avoid all scrapes and dings with ease. Now, what you have are here some other options for camera views. Now, right now, this is the front looking out, but you can press this button here. That gives you that bird's eye view looking down, and again, could tell you just how close you are to something almost from an overview up above. Look, this one here is going to give you those side shots down the side of the vehicle. One area that typically doesn't need a lot of attention is controlling the windshield wipers, but I like the fact that Sonata has a couple of extra functions built in. Now, what you have first off is a selector control handle on the right side of the steering wheel. Now, it has your typical off, on, low, and high. Now, these different functions allow the windshield wipers to act either independently or under driver command. But if you put it in the mode just before it goes off, it allows you to select this very function right through here, either put it in mist, off, or auto. Now, when you select those various ones, the auto is pretty much going to respond to what the rain is doing. You can then select down here, which will override and put in kind of a low mode or high. As the rain falls, it will set accordingly. This allows kind of the vehicle to sense what is going on and do it without driver input, but naturally you can override that by just selecting it down in various settings. Now, one setting I haven't tried, but I've noticed on the key fob is this right here, which is basically moving the vehicle up using the key fob or reversing it. Now, I could see several kind of reasons to do this, so I wanted to test it out. First off, you have to select the option there between the front drivers, leave the vehicle running, get out, then maybe this is to help it get into a tight spot. So all you got to simply do in this case, we're going to move it forward, just simply press and hold the button. Once it gets to exactly where you need it to go, which in this case is at the end of the concrete, we'll just simply release and it stops where I need it. I've got the vehicle where I want it, but I want to back it up, so all I could do is simply just hit the reverse button here and you'll see the vehicle back up. Plenty of lighting inside with a nice LED approach up above the front occupants, as well as just a simple button here to illuminate the inside in one fell swoop, related to the door opening right over here. But a nice function is this right here, which relates to navigation. What you'll do is you'll simply press it.
Please say the POI name or address you want to find.
Starbucks.
25. Results found. Please say the line number.
1.
You will be guided to the first destination on the list. Please proceed to the highlighted route, then the route guidance will start.
I've mentioned this button here before, but it's the steering assist that couples nicely with the cruise control. Allows the steering wheel to have somewhat of an autonomous feel, though you do need to keep your hand on it. Allows for a little bit less driver fatigue on those long drives. One thing I wondered is why the heated steering wheel button's not here, but instead found down here by the climate controls. But naturally thinking this is kind of climate related, why not put it here? Also, with the similarity of design with this icon and the one found on the steering wheel, well, there might be a little bit of confusion, so separating it over here makes a lot of sense. Oftentimes when you're backing up and you're using your side mirrors, you don't want to see kind of what's beside you, but rather what's down below. Maybe you're watching the curbs, and what I like here on the Sonata, it makes it real easy. Just simply press this switch over and this tilts down, allowing you to kind of see the ground instead of seeing up above. However, if you don't prefer that, just simply select it back and it rises back where you need it. I rarely check my hair anymore, but some of you might need a mirror, and it will be found on the back of the visor. Just slide it and it opens right up. Now, as it gets dark outside, you will need a little bit more light, and you will find that in the form of an LED up above. But what I like is it does have this kind of switch, and I wondered, well, why not the automated approach, which a lot of vehicles do. As you slide this, it'll come on. As you slide it back, it doesn't. But this vehicle does fix one thing, which means when you close it, it will shut off. And well, how does it do that? Well, in the manual sense, as you close it, that button right there gets depressed by the visor and simply goes back to the off setting. So it's a nice kind of inexpensive way to do an automation of sorts. Just simply turn it on, close it, and this flicks right off. You ever get that pesky change in the drive-thru and wonder where to put it? Well, a lot of cars aren't come with those change purses of sorts, so this nice little tray right here could be kind of your catch-off destination, especially if you're like me and like to keep things in your pocket that get aggravating. We'll slide them right there, so that way when you get out, they're naturally right where you want to be. In some cases, you could just slide your phone right over there because it's a nice little storage compartment. What you'll also find down below is a deep little area for maybe a water bottle. That couples nicely again with the two in the middle, and of course all the other doors as well. That does for this additional reward and a test drive behind the wheel of the 2021 Hyundai Sonata Limited Edition. Again, with the classic look with the dressed up chrome, but just a hint of sport with the grille warfare and the lower third around the side. Also sporting is under the hood with that nice 1.6 liter turbocharged engine. But at the end of the day, this vehicle can kind of fit in all elements. Maybe a little bit of the racetrack, but most notably at the country club and maybe even occasionally the grocery store. Now, as always, thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.